Welcome to And Says Something Controversial. Why is women's bench so bad? I mean, not compared to me. We all know that I'm a freak, so that doesn't count. And no, we're not talking about Mackenzie Lee. She's got little T-Rex arms and she's like 400 pounds of chest muscle, apparently. I mean, standard bench in powerlifting competition for women, I literally don't understand why it's so bad. My son, he weighs 45 pounds. His max bench is like 33. I'm legit seeing some women in competition who are doing something like 50 pounds, and I just don't understand it. I don't understand why so many women are skipping bench and focusing on everything else. Yeah, that's my controversial thing today. I'm gonna go do some bench now.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about an absolutely hilarious story, which could be an example of how to red pill a progressive. Just give them what they want, right? Sometimes these people cannot understand the consequences of the lunacy and the ridiculousness that they advocate for, except until they actually experience the consequences of it, right? And in this case right here, we got to talk about biological men competing against biological women in sports, okay? And we got to go out to Canada, okay? As a male powerlifter enters a woman's event and breaks record. Now, the irony here is that this guy who actually broke the record is not really transgender, but he decided to identify as female, okay, in protest of an insane woke policy that is allowed by Canada in this powerlifting competition, where basically if you just say, hey, I'm a man, I identify as a woman, you can go in and compete and basically just crush the competition, which is exactly what the current record holder for bench press did, okay? The trans athlete by the name of Ann Andreas, who you saw at the beginning of this video, biological man, competing as a woman, came in, crushed the other women, and set a record in bench press, right? So this based guy right here, this based man, came in and said, you know what? I am a woman, right? I am a woman. And he came in and absolutely crushed and destroyed the trans athlete's record. Again, this is an absolutely amazing story. It's hilarious. And I think that more men should start doing this in protest of this insane policy. And that's probably the best way to actually change things, right? Is to show them how ridiculous it is in the first place. So without further ado, let's read about this, because we have video to share as well too. A bearded pro powerlifter entered a women's competition in Canada and smashed a record held by a trans lifter who was watching. Avi Silverberg, the head coach for Team Canada powerlifting for more than 10 years, entered Saturday's Heroes Classic tournament in Lethbridge, Alberta, after identifying as a female. Video shared by athlete activist group, the Independent Council on Women's Sports Icons, shows him walking up to the platform, still fully bearded and wearing a regular men's singlet. Yeah, so this guy's like, I'm not even gonna pretend to be a woman, right? He then casually bench pressed nearly 370 pounds, beating the current Alberta women's record by almost 100 pounds. And I guarantee you that wasn't his max, right? That wasn't his max, okay? 370 pounds. For a powerlifter, a professional, not that much in bench, right? I mean, I can almost bench that much. Perfect. That record, 275 pounds, was held by trans athlete Ann Andreas, who was seen watching Silverberg while volunteering at the event. All right, so let's go ahead and play the video of this guy breaking the record so you guys can just see the lift. Yeah, so you see now, you heard that. Again, easy work for this guy. Super based. Andreas also holds the Alberta women's record for the deadlift at 544 pounds giving her the local record for the total of all three lifts, lifting a combined 1,245 pounds. The trans lifter won 8 of 9 competitions enter in the women's category over the last 4 years, Icon said. I mean, no wonder, right? No wonder. I mean, again, it's a biological man, right? A biological man, even if you go on hormones, okay, even if you take drugs, you're going to retain advantages, right? You're going to have more muscle mass, more bone density, okay? You're going to just be built better, larger hand size. All that stuff contributes to strength in lifting, right? Which is why this biological man, the trans person, the actual real trans person, was able to come in and dominate. As Silverberg broke her record, Andres stood off to the edge of the platform area, only strolling back on after the male lifter walked off. Icon said Silverberg, quote, mocked the discriminatory Canadian Powerlifting Union policy that allows competitors to register for events under their gender identity and expression rather than their sex or gender, vowing, quote, no consequences for doing so. Yeah, absolutely ridiculous policy. CPU's trans policy states that an individual should be able to participate in the gender with which they identify and not be subject to requirements for disclosure of personal information beyond those required of cisgender athletes. Again, they're saying how ridiculous this is. Okay, when it's turned on them, now they're saying just how stupid this is. It also states, quote, nor should there be any requirement for hormonal therapy or surgery. However, the union's competition registration policy states that a competitor's government issued photo identification, excluding youth listers, must be verified during the weigh-in or equipment check, including date of birth, province, and gender at all competitions. It is unclear if Silverberg presented a government-issued ID, identify him as a female, or was required to. It would have been super base if he did, right? If he actually went and got all this stuff changed on his ID and all that, just to go in and destroy this transgender athlete. Repeated messages left for CPU's board of directors and executive staff were not returned Thursday. Silverberg is among those executive members listed on the CPU's website as the vice president in Alberta. He did not immediately agree to request to be interviewed. Either way, according to Icons, what Avi so obviously points out is that policies allowing men access to women's sports completely remove any integrity in women's competitions. Quote, it doesn't matter how Avi expresses himself or perceives himself. He clearly does not belong in women's sports, and neither does any other male, regardless of their motivation for wanting to participate. Yeah, so Andres actually went online and posted a lengthy response, aka meltdown, calling this guy a coward and a bigot with malicious intent.
Hey folks, just a super quick update. Yes, somebody did show up at the meet today with malicious intent. And you know what? It was nothing. It was just entirely ignored. People lifted. I volunteered. Everyone was happy that I was there. And it really struck me that maybe my participation isn't necessarily fair. I mean, there's science, whatever. But people welcome me because I'm actually nice to people.
A couple of people have reached out to me asking what I think needs to be done in the CPU, APU, with the situation with that one lifter claiming to be trans just to get those medals and setting records and all that stuff. Here's the problem. You shouldn't really be asking me, because I ultimately, weird thing to say, I come from a place of privilege, which, like I said, is weird to say. You gotta keep in mind, I transitioned almost 20 years ago. I got all of my papers done. I have my passport. I got surgery. I can prove without any doubt whatsoever that I have gone through every step. Which means whatever governing body decides to make decisions, I'm gonna pass that test, as it were. Because you can prove historically for the past 20 years that I've been living this way. what we need to be concerned about isn't me. I mean, I'm possibly the best test bed example case of somebody who, you could say, did it properly or whatever. No, what we actually need to be concerned about is, well, trans youth. The actual, kids who are going to transition or who are transitioning. Because what a lot of people seem to be advocating is that trans kids need to be tested and prove who they are. And as soon as you start thinking, well, I need to be doing gender testing on kids, there's something wrong with your brain that you feel that that's appropriate. I'm not saying that anyone who's reached out to me has gone in that direction. But my point is that nothing should be done regarding me or my opinions. I'm not an authority. I just happen to exist. Everything should be done surrounding the next generation. I got on my high horse, my soapbox, my platform, what have you, knowing full well that I was going to be taking a whole lot of slings and arrows of harsh misfortune to pave the road for the next generation. And I'm very, very sorry to the APU and CPU that I happen to exist in your realm. I am profoundly thankful to exist in the APU or CPU because, unlike JC, I could not go through those legal hurdles. I would not have made it like JC did. Yeah. I'm probably going to say more, but that's the end of my current rant. I'm going to try to get those 2 squats that I missed yesterday. Thank you, everybody who's been reaching out to me, sending posts about said lifter who was at Lethbridge. We all know that it's a sham. Try not to pay much attention to it. This will get sorted out.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. Clearly, this person is salty, right? Extra salty about the fact that they lost their record that they should have never held in the first place. But again, I think that this is what men have to start doing, right? In order to expose the lunacy of these policies that discriminate against biological women, just have real men come in, just destroy the transgender person's record, right? And that's it, right? I mean, like, because at that point, you are competing for a record, right? I mean, some people compete for personal reasons, okay, for their own personal PRs. But it's pretty sad when you compete and you can't actually break a record. Like, you know you have no chance whatsoever of breaking a record. And that's how biological women feel when a trans woman comes in, aka a biological man comes in, breaks their record. They know they're not going to be able to ever beat that trans person, right? So now the trans person gets a little taste of what, again, biological women feel when, men come in and dominate their sport, right? By having a man identify as a woman come in and break the transgender person's record. Again, it is super based, right? I support it 100%. And again, like I said, man, maybe the best way to red pill these people is to just give them what they want, right? You want this lunacy, this ridiculousness, where you can just identify as a woman or whatever, and just, compete and destroy them in competition. All right, fine. Here's a taste of your own medicine. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.